The mind-gut connection, how the hidden conversation within our bodies impacts our mood, our choices, and our overall health, by Dr. Emeran Mayer. Let me tell you about Bill. His teenage years turned into a living nightmare that started with crushing stomach pain and uncontrollable waves of vomiting. This wasn't your typical stomach flu that clears up in a few days. Bill found himself racing to the emergency room multiple times every week, desperate for someone to make it stop. The doctors? They were completely stumped. They put him through the whole medical gauntlet, endoscopies, CT scans, blood work, you name it. The result? Absolutely nothing showed up. Some frustrated doctors even started whispering that maybe Bill was just after pain medication, that perhaps it was all psychological. His entire life came to a screeching halt. College dropout. Back to his parents' house. Trapped in a body that had turned against him, tormented by an invisible enemy. Here's what nobody realized at the time. The problem wasn't hiding in one specific organ. It wasn't purely physical, and it wasn't purely mental either. The real culprit was something far more fascinating, a breakdown in the conversation between his brain and his gut. This hidden biological dialogue has been happening inside each of us since before we took our first breath. This is the revolutionary world that Dr. Emeran Mayer opens up in his groundbreaking book, The Mind-Gut Connection. Dr. Mayer has spent over 40 years diving deep into the intricate relationship between our brain and digestive system, and he's not your typical doctor. He's been at the forefront of discovering why our old-school approach to medicine, treating the body like a fancy car with replaceable parts, is fundamentally flawed. It's exactly why we're drowning in chronic diseases like obesity, depression, and autoimmune disorders. The real story, he reveals, is way more captivating. We're not machines at all. We're intelligent, interconnected ecosystems. At the center of everything is this powerful, two-way communication highway between your mind and your gut. Here's what I'm offering you today. By the time we're done, you'll understand this hidden conversation in a whole new way. You'll see why scientists call the gut our second brain, and how it shapes your mood, influences your choices, and impacts your health in ways that will genuinely surprise you. You'll discover that when people talk about gut feelings, they're not speaking metaphorically. It's real biology in action. Most importantly, you'll learn how to become the master gardener of your own internal ecosystem, making simple, practical choices that can restore and optimize this vital connection, putting you on the path to genuine wellness and vibrant health. For the longest time, modern medicine has treated the human body like a premium automobile. Fill it with decent fuel, bring it in for regular maintenance, and it should purr along smoothly for about 75 years. When something breaks down, whether it's your heart or your stomach, a specialist steps in to repair or replace it, just like a mechanic swapping out a faulty transmission. This machine model worked brilliantly for acute problems like infections or broken bones. But over the past 50 years, something has gone seriously sideways. We're drowning in an explosion of chronic diseases: obesity, depression, anxiety, autoimmune disorders, even Alzheimer's. The old model can't explain them, much less cure them. We keep trying to fix individual parts, but we're completely missing the forest for the trees. The real problem isn't a broken component. It's a communication breakdown. And ground zero for that communication, a place most of us have been trained to ignore: our gut. Most people think of the digestive system as a straightforward food processing plant. Food enters, nutrients get extracted, waste gets eliminated. End of story. But Dr. Mayer shows us this view is wildly off base. Your gut is actually one of the most complex, intelligent, and powerful systems in your entire body. It's so sophisticated that scientists have given it a nickname, the second brain. Let that sink in for a moment. Wrapped around your intestines is a network containing 50 to 100 million nerve cells, called the enteric nervous system. That's roughly the same number of neurons in your entire spinal cord. This little brain is smart enough to manage the entire complicated process of digestion independently, without any input from the brain in your skull. Your gut also houses the largest portion of your immune system, more immune cells live in your gut wall than circulate in your bloodstream or hang out in your bone marrow. And here's another shocker. It's the largest hormone-producing organ in your body. If you gathered all its endocrine cells together, they'd form an organ bigger than your thyroid, adrenal glands, and reproductive organs combined. But perhaps the most startling discovery is this: your gut is your body's main serotonin warehouse. You know serotonin, that famous feel-good chemical that regulates mood, sleep, and overall well-being. A mind-blowing 95% of your body's serotonin isn't stored in your brain at all. It's tucked away in specialized cells within your gut. Why would a supposedly simple digestive tube need this incredible arsenal of nerve cells, immune cells, and mood-regulating chemicals? Because digestion is just the tip of the iceberg. The gut's real job is information gathering. It's a massive sensory organ, with a surface area the size of a basketball court, packed with thousands of tiny sensors, constantly analyzing everything you consume. And this information doesn't stay local. It shoots straight to your brain, creating a constant, two-way conversation. Let's start with the top-down conversation, from your brain to your gut. Have you ever experienced butterflies in your stomach before giving a big presentation? Or felt something truly gut-wrenching? These aren't just colorful expressions. They're descriptions of actual biological events. Your gut, Dr. Mayer explains, is essentially a theater where your emotions perform. Every single emotion you experience in your brain, anger, fear, sadness, joy, creates a mirror image reaction in your gut. Your brain sends distinct signal patterns to your digestive system, causing specific reactions for each emotion. When anger flares up, your stomach launches into vigorous contractions and cranks up acid production. When depression settles in, your intestines practically grind to a halt. This connection is so powerful and primal that we can trace it back through famous medical cases. Back in the 1820s, an army surgeon named William Beaumont treated a fur trapper named Alexis St. Martin, who'd been accidentally shot, leaving a permanent opening in his stomach that connected directly to the outside of his body. This gave Beaumont an unprecedented window into human digestion. He noticed that whenever St. Martin got angry or irritable, the man's digestion slowed dramatically. It was the first scientific proof that emotions directly influence stomach activity. This is exactly what was happening to Bill, the young man trapped in that vomiting cycle. His problem wasn't a stomach disease. It was a disorder of the brain-gut axis. His brain had an overactive stress response system. A master switch chemical in the brain called corticotropin-releasing factor, or CRF, was flooding his system. Think of CRF as a false fire alarm, constantly telling his body it was in emergency mode. It made him feel anxious, but it also sent chaotic signals cascading down to his gut, causing his stomach to slow down, reverse its contractions, and violently expel its contents upward. Once Dr. Mayer figured this out, the solution became clear. Don't treat Bill's stomach. Calm the hyperactive stress circuits in his brain. With the right approach, Bill's attacks stopped, and he finally got his life back. Bill's story is extreme, but it reveals something fundamental about all of us. Our mental state directly impacts our gut health. The brain is the director, and the gut is the stage. But this is only half the story. The really revolutionary discovery is that the gut talks back to the brain. And here's the kicker: it does most of the talking. The vagus nerve is the information superhighway connecting brain and gut. For decades, we assumed it was mostly a top-down command line. But here's what we now know. A stunning 90% of the nerve fibers in the vagus nerve carry information from the gut to the brain. Only 10% flow the other direction. Stop and think about what that means. Your brain is far more interested in listening to what your gut has to say than telling it what to do. So what's the gut reporting on that's so vital? Everything. Through its vast sensor network, it's constantly streaming updates about your last meal's chemical composition, nutrient presence, and even the activity of the trillions of microorganisms living inside it. Most of this happens beneath conscious awareness, You don't feel your intestines contracting or your pancreas releasing enzymes. Your brain's filtering system screens most of it out, so you can focus on the outside world. But some signals do bubble up into consciousness. We call them gut feelings. And these feelings, far from being mystical or imaginary, are your brain's interpretation of raw data streaming up from your gut. This is where a gut sensation transforms into an emotional feeling. These signals travel to a special brain region called the insular cortex, a hidden island deep in our gray matter that serves as the central hub for integrating all internal body signals. Here, the brain constructs the subjective experience of how we feel, well, nauseated, hungry, or simply off. Over a lifetime, our brain builds a massive library of these gut feelings, associating certain bodily states with positive or negative outcomes. The famous neuroscientist Antonio Damasio called these somatic markers, unconscious bodily memories that guide our decisions. When you meet someone new and get a bad vibe, or when you're facing a tough choice and have a strong gut feeling about which direction to take, your brain is performing a lightning-fast search of this emotional memory database. It's predicting how a certain choice will make your body feel, based on a lifetime of similar experiences. This is intuitive decision-making, not magic, biology. Your second brain informing your first. Now we arrive at the most incredible part of this story. There's a third party in this conversation, a player so massive and influential that it's forcing us to redefine what it even means to be human. I'm talking about the trillions of microorganisms living in your gut microbiota. Let's wrap our heads around the scale here. You have roughly 100 trillion microbes living in your gut. That's approximately the same number as all the human cells in your entire body. If you could somehow weigh all these microbes, they'd tip the scales at 2 to 6 pounds, similar to your brain's weight. But here's the truly mind-bending fact. For every single human gene in your body, there are up to 360 bacterial genes. This means that, genetically speaking, we're less than 1% human. We are, as Dr. Mayer eloquently puts it, supraorganisms, complex ecosystems of human and microbial components that are inseparable and mutually dependent for survival. Throughout most of history, we've viewed bacteria as dangerous germs to be eliminated. While some are indeed harmful, the vast majority of our gut microbes aren't just harmless, they're absolutely essential for our health. They're our ancient partners in an evolutionary contract forged over hundreds of millions of years. We provide them with a safe home and steady meals. In return, they perform incredible services, helping us digest food components we can't handle alone, synthesizing essential vitamins, regulating our metabolism, and training our immune system. But the most revolutionary discovery of the last decade is this: these microbes aren't silent partners, they're active participants in the mind-gut conversation. They speak a sophisticated biochemical language that Dr. Mayer calls microbe speak. How can these tiny creatures possibly communicate with our brain? In several remarkable ways. First, some can produce neurotransmitters directly. Yes, the very same chemicals our brain uses to regulate mood. Certain beneficial bacteria strains, like lactobacilli and bifidobacteria, can produce GABA, the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. It's the same molecule targeted by anti-anxiety medications like Valium and Xanax. Essentially, our gut microbes could function as our personal anti-anxiety pharmacy. Second, they communicate through our immune system. The microbes lining our gut engage in constant dialogue with immune cells just beneath the surface. When the ecosystem is balanced, microbes send, all is well, signals. But when the wrong microbes take over, or our diet is poor, they can trigger inflammatory responses. This inflammation doesn't stay confined to the gut. Inflammatory molecules called cytokines can travel through the bloodstream or up the vagus nerve to the brain, where they can cause fatigue, pain sensitivity, and even depression. This low-grade, chronic inflammation, originating in the gut, is now considered a key link between modern diets and many serious brain diseases. Third, and perhaps most importantly, microbes communicate through molecules they produce from our food. When you eat, you're not just feeding yourself. You're feeding trillions of microbes in your gut. They feast on digestion leftovers, particularly plant fiber that our bodies can't break down. In the process, they transform this food into hundreds of thousands of different molecules called metabolites. Many metabolites are neuroactive, meaning they can interact with our nervous system. They can stimulate serotonin-producing cells in the gut, signal the brain via the vagus nerve, or travel through the bloodstream to influence mood, sleep, and overall well-being. This entire complex communication system, brain, gut, and microbiome, isn't hardwired at birth. It's programmed during the most critical window of our lives, from the womb until about age 3. Our earliest life experiences leave lasting traces on this axis. We now know that pregnancy stress can alter the mother's vaginal microbiome, which influences the first microbes that seed the baby's gut during birth. This is one reason why babies born via C-section, who miss this crucial microbial inoculation, start life with different microbes and face higher risks for certain health issues later. Then comes the most important early food, breast milk. Human breast milk is an evolutionary miracle. It contains special complex sugars called human milk oligosaccharides, or HMOs. These sugars are indigestible by the baby, so they're not for the baby's nutrition. They're prebiotics, designed specifically to feed and cultivate healthy communities of beneficial bacteria, particularly bifidobacteria, in the infant's gut. This early programming sets the foundation for lifelong health. Just as crucial is our early emotional environment. Dr. Mayer shares Jennifer's story, a woman who suffered lifelong anxiety, depression, and severe IBS. When he asked about her childhood, a story of intense stress emerged, a family health crisis while she was in the womb, followed by years of parental fighting and a bitter divorce. This kind of adverse childhood experience doesn't just create painful memories. It biologically rewires the developing brain-gut axis. Animal studies show that pups of stressed, neglectful mothers grow up with hyper-responsive stress systems. They produce more of the stress molecule, CRF, their guts are more sensitive, and they're more prone to anxiety and depression-like behaviors. This happens through epigenetics, where life experiences attach chemical tags to our DNA, changing how genes are expressed without altering the genes themselves. These early experiences program us for life, making us more vulnerable to stress-sensitive disorders like IBS. So we have this ancient, beautifully complex system programmed in our earliest years to maintain balance. But what happens when this system collides with the modern world? The result is catastrophic, and the primary culprit is the modern North American diet. For hundreds of thousands of years, our gut and microbes co-evolved with a diet rich in plant variety, with small amounts of lean meat. The Yanomami people of the Amazon, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer groups, have gut microbiomes with astounding diversity, far greater than people in industrialized nations. But our modern diet, high in animal fat, sugar, and processed foods, and low in plant diversity, is a massive shock to this system. It represents an assault our evolution never prepared us for. Here's how the damage unfolds. A diet high in animal fat promotes microbes that thrive on bile acids. Some of these microbes have components in their cell walls, like lipopolysaccharide or LPS, that are highly inflammatory. This high-fat diet also makes our gut wall leakier, allowing inflammatory molecules to cross into the bloodstream, a condition sometimes called metabolic endotoxemia. This triggers low-grade chronic inflammation that spreads throughout the body and up to the brain. In the hypothalamus, the brain's appetite control center, this inflammation numbs sensors that are supposed to signal fullness. The satiety signals still get sent from the gut, but the brain isn't listening properly. The result? You overeat, gain weight, and the vicious cycle continues. It gets worse. This diet also fuels the brain's dopamine reward system. Highly palatable foods rich in fat and sugar provide pleasure hits as powerful as some drugs, leading to cravings and even food addiction in vulnerable people. Some scientists even hypothesize that gut microbes can manipulate our eating behavior to serve their own needs, generating cravings for the very foods that help them outcompete other microbes. And it's not just fat and sugar. Our processed foods are loaded with artificial sweeteners and emulsifiers. Recent studies show these additives wreak havoc on gut microbiota. Artificial sweeteners designed to help with weight loss can actually promote microbes that are more efficient at extracting calories from food, leading to weight gain and blood sugar problems. Food emulsifiers added to ice cream and bread to improve texture can erode the protective mucus layer of our gut, allowing bacteria closer to the gut wall and triggering inflammation. This modern assault is at the root of our current health crisis. It's reprogramming our gut-brain axis in ways that promote chronic disease. But the story doesn't end here. Because once we understand the problem, we can find solutions. The path back to health doesn't lie in a magic pill or trendy diet. It lies in returning to an ecological view of our bodies. It means respecting the ancient contract we have with our microbes. Dr. Mayer points to the wisdom of traditional diets, like the Mediterranean diet. During a trip to a small Italian town, he experienced firsthand that it's not just a list of ingredients. It's a way of life, food grown in rich, microbially diverse soil, high polyphenol content in olive oil from ancient trees, the social connection of sharing meals with loved ones. All these elements feed not just our bodies, but our entire brain-gut microbiome ecosystem. The simple road toward wellness begins with a paradigm shift. We must stop thinking of our bodies as machines to be fixed, and start seeing them as internal gardens to be cultivated. The food we eat, the stress we manage, and the emotions we feel are the tools we use to tend this garden every single day. As we reach the end of our journey through the mind-gut connection, I'm left with one profound, honestly life-altering idea. We are not who we think we are. The traditional view of the self as a single autonomous being is an illusion. The science in this book paints a much grander and more humbling picture. We are ecosystems. Each of us is a walking, talking community of trillions of organisms. A supraorganism, made of human and microbial parts, all locked in constant, intricate communication. This isn't just a fascinating scientific fact, it's a fundamental shift in how we should approach our health and our lives. For generations, we've declared war on our bodies. We've used militaristic language, launching scorched earth, attacks on cancer cells with toxic chemicals, or unleashing broad-spectrum antibiotics to wipe out bacteria. Dr. Mayer's work gently asks us to lay down our weapons. It suggests we stop acting like warriors and start acting like park rangers, or, better yet, gardeners. Our goal shouldn't be to conquer and control, but to cultivate balance, diversity, and resilience within our internal ecosystem. So what does this mean for you, right now, today? How can you start being a better gardener for your own internal world? Here are a few simple, powerful actions you can take. First, maximize the diversity of your diet, especially with plants. Think of your gut microbes like a diverse workforce. You want specialists for every job. The more different types of plants you eat, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, the more diverse your microbial community will be. This diversity is key to resilience. It helps your internal ecosystem withstand disturbances, whether from antibiotics, a stressful week, or food poisoning. And don't forget fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi. They're great ways to introduce beneficial microbes into your system. Second, manage your emotional theater. Remember that every emotion you feel plays out on the stage of your gut. Chronically feeling stressed, angry, or anxious creates a hostile environment for your beneficial microbes. This doesn't mean you should never feel these emotions. It means you should be mindful of them. Before eating a meal, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Do a quick body scan. Are you tense? Anxious? If so, recognize that this emotional state will affect how you digest your food and what messages your gut sends to your brain. Simply being aware of this connection is the first step toward changing it. Eating in a calm, relaxed state is one of the kindest things you can do for your gut. And third, learn to listen to your gut feelings. Your body is communicating with you constantly. But in our noisy, distraction-filled world, we've forgotten how to listen. Start paying attention. When you eat a certain food, how do you feel an hour later? Not just physically, but emotionally. Do you feel energized and clear, or sluggish and foggy? When facing a decision, what is that subtle, quiet feeling in the pit of your stomach telling you? Your gut feelings are a powerful source of intuitive wisdom, built from a lifetime of biological data. The more you listen to them, the stronger and more reliable they become. That was a deep dive into the core ideas of the mind-gut connection by Dr. Emeran Mayer. We've explored the highlights today, but I'll be honest with you. A summary can only take you so far. The real magic happens when you hold the book in your hands and let the ideas sink in at your own pace. It's in the quiet moments, when a particular story or simple phrase connects with your own life in an unexpected way. This podcast is designed to give you a map of the territory, to help you decide if this is a journey worth taking. If anything we've discussed today has resonated with you, I genuinely encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning information. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself, your health, and your place in the world. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it sparked a new idea or question for you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.